the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio, this is Marquette Now.
Good evening, I'm Randy Hosman.
And I'm Sam Marco. Welcome to another episode of Marquette Now. We weren't here last week, so we have lots of news for you tonight.
Before we start, all of us here at Marquette Now want to thank the nation's veterans who are serving or have served in the armed forces.
With the rise in COVID-19 cases, Governor Tony Evers is issuing an executive order advising Wisconsin residents to stay home.
The New York Times reports Wisconsin has nearly 300,000 positive cases and about 3,000 deaths. Evers addressed the state of Wisconsin last night.
The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation estimates 5,000 Wisconsinites could be lost to COVID-19 by January 1st if no further actions are taken to get this virus under control. Each day this virus goes unchecked is a setback for our economic recovery. So tonight, I've signed Executive Order 94 advising Wisconsinites to stay home to save lives.
Marquette is enforcing new guidelines after changing its COVID-19 alert level from moderate to high last week. There were 42 new cases on Thursday following the Halloween weekend. This is the single highest day of positive coronavirus cases on campus since August 21st. As a result, all club and organization meetings must be virtual. Students can no longer use indoor gathering spaces unless monitored by a faculty or staff member. Marquette police say they are increasing enforcement related to off-campus parties. There have been 175 positive cases over the last week, and the university now has a total of 752 cases since August 21st.
Vote counting is still ongoing, but it's projected that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the President and Vice President-elect of the United States. One of the swing states that pushed President-elect Biden and Electoral College visiting. Unofficial vote results show Biden beating Donald Trump by 0.7%, with 99% of voters counted, according to the Associated Press. Nationwide, Biden also takes the lead. He has 290 electoral votes. President Trump has 214 electoral votes. There's still no declared winner in Georgia and North Carolina. Biden leads in Georgia, while Trump leads in North Carolina. 270 electoral votes are needed to be elected president.
President Trump has been calling this election fraudulent on Twitter and in conferences, claiming there are illegal votes being counted and some rejected. National Public Radio reports Trump's campaign is filing lawsuits against 5 states, but most have failed. Pennsylvania is being sued for extended deadlines and for allegedly not allowing observers to watch votes being counted. The state and the Supreme Court ruled to separate some of the ballots in case any extended deadlines are unconstitutional. A state judge ruled that observers could stand slightly closer, but the request to stop the count was denied. The rest of the states are denying lawsuits and debunking misinformation. There's a widely circulated conspiracy that in Arizona, voters had their ballots incorrectly rejected for being filled out in Sharpie. The Department of Homeland Security denied this theory. The Trump campaign dropped this claim this past Saturday and filed a separate lawsuit for incorrectly rejected ballots.
Elections might not be completely over, but some Wisconsin residents are celebrating Biden and Harris's predicted win. Down Wisconsin Avenue, cars took to the streets to celebrate the Biden-Harris campaign this past Saturday. A line of cars honked their horns and cheered out their windows. Some waved flags and put up their Biden-Harris posters in unity. Marquette students living on campus cast their ballots at the Alumni Memorial Union. Voting wards 190 and 191 are stationed at the AMU. Voters had no problem getting inside, getting registered, and making their voice heard.
But the media had a different experience. Reporter Quinn Faith has more.
Making a difference means being the difference. You're looking at Marquette students exercising their right to vote at the Alumni Memorial Union. But capturing these historic moments almost wasn't a possibility for our media team. When we arrived to cover the voting, we originally weren't allowed inside after this sign was posted on all the doors that guarded the AMU polling places. So, we contacted local and state election officials, who said that this move by the university ruined the democratic process of observing voting.
You know, it gets tricky when you're using private spaces and navigating the rules that they might have for their spaces. But in that case, you know, they did remove that notice once they were asked to.
It was smooth sailing for us once we got in, and for voters who were looking to register and cast their vote for this presidential election. Marquette sophomore Javier Cederini said that the poll workers made voting in his first election pretty simple.
Yeah, I just entered and there were some people there helped me. It was like really organized. I wasn't like registered already, so I had to register.
Students cast their ballot for a whole bunch of reasons. Cedrini says he votes to fight climate change. Marquette first year Lupita Echeverria uses her voice for the voiceless.
When I think of people in the prison system and like people who are affected by the decisions made, I vote for those who can't.
Reporting from the Alumni Memorial Union, I'm Quinn Faith, Marquette Wire News.
Between wards 190 and 191, almost 2,400 people came out to vote. Combined, Biden received nearly 74% of the votes compared to Trump's nearly 25%. Many were worried about what might happen after election results were released. Reporter Autumn Herchert talked with Marquette University President Michael Lovell about what he hoped post-election would look like on campus.
It's really important, for us as a country and for us as a city to try to heal, because I think right now there's so much divisiveness, out in our society. And, one of the things that in the past I've been very proud of Marquette is we're a community and we've been much like a family, and, we need to be models of how we have collegial dialogue around difficult conversations. And so the more that we can be agents of change, positive agents of change in our city, is really, really important. And for several of the schools that we're talking about preparing for post-election, and, up to that point in time, I'd never even really thought about it, that we would have to worry about those protests and things. And so, I'm sure the city, probably has plans in place, and, our MUPD, I think that they have communicate with what's going on with the city, but we've not made any specific plans as a university.
Marquette University has a $45 million budget shortfall and is considering letting go 240 to 450 faculty and staff members to make up the loss. There was a sit-in protest at Zilber Hall 3 weeks ago with students, faculty, staff, and community members. The group spent 6 hours peacefully protesting until administrative representatives asked them to leave. Student Brooke McArdle, along with her fellow protesters, refused. McArdle was charged with 2 student conduct violations. In response to these charges, students have started the hashtag Marquette Save Brooke, which has been gaining popularity on Instagram. Reporter Autumn Herchert also spoke with Lovell about the proposed budget cuts and hashtag Marquette Save Brooke.
So we have, it's important to understand, no decisions have been made about any actions the university is going to take, and that we have 7 working streams looking at different options on how we're going to address our financial challenges. And so, we have those work streams won't be done until the end of the year. Then there'll be work going on to next semester about how we're going to take actions on what the work streams develop. So, time. It's just going to take time.
If I could ask you, maybe if you had any statements to make about the Save Brooke movement.
Well, first of all, it's really important that people understand that it's like Title IX, the president's office is completely independent of student conduct. And so all I can say is the only thing I know about it is what I've seen on social media. And I don't know any of the details about what's happening with her case, tomorrow. And that's really all I can say about it.
Coming up, we take a look at one club on campus that hasn't been affected by the pandemic like others.
And later, stay tuned for a full recap of last week's elections and everything that's happened since. All that when we get back.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure love.
Welcome back to Marquette Now. I'm Randy Hosman.
And I'm Sam Marco. The coronavirus is affecting how people normally do things, especially in sports.
But there's one sport in particular that hasn't benefited from the COVID-19 pandemic. Reporter Tyler Peters has the story.
When you think of sports, most people envision the traditional Big Four: football, baseball, basketball, and hockey.
Best of luck to you.
But for many, esports or competitive gaming might not come to mind.
It's more from like the outside looking in, where people just haven't accepted the fact that esports is a thing. People can say what they want, like, oh, it's just like a bunch of nerds playing video games. It's, there's nothing to look into it.
Unlike most traditional sports, esports hasn't been harshly impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. Instead, it has actually helped esports gain new fans.
Esports as a whole just has had a boom in the past 6 months because, people being in quarantine, people being in lockdown, they pick up the controller, they pick up the mouse and keyboard, and they just start playing again.
Even professional athletes have hopped on the esports bandwagon.
MLB players, like NBA players, they have the following already, just off being professional athletes. So if you see them on Twitch or something, you're like, oh, I'm gonna try this game out and try to get as good as this guy, and it brings more following to the game that's out there already.
However, the esports community recognizes they've been incredibly lucky in avoiding the repercussions of this pandemic.
Joseph, that was the best game of Smash you've ever played.
I know me personally, I also play for the baseball team, and that's been canceled until spring at least. And so, I can see both sides of it, basically, with, having sports canceled.
I'm Tyler Peters, Marquette Wire News.
The mural on the north-facing side of Varsity Theater in Holthusen Hall is officially complete. Called Our Roots Say That We're Sisters, the mural celebrates diversity and racial equity according to the artist Mauricio Ramirez.
On the other side of that mural is Holthusen Hall, home to Marquette's Counseling Center. According to the center, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the world.
So why isn't mental health talked about more? Reporter Madison Burrier explores the question.
Mental health continues to be a taboo topic in our society and ultimately on our campus. According to the Marquette University Counseling Center, suicide is the second leading cause of death among college students. 2019 Marquette alum Jenny Fisher is looking to change that statistic. Fisher lost her mom to suicide at the age of 13 and has made it her mission to eliminate the stigma around mental health.
I love to say it in this way. Just because it's not easy or enjoyable to talk about doesn't mean it's not important.
When COVID-19 eliminated Fisher's ability to participate in suicide prevention walks, she began a fundraising campaign for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. She created t-shirts with the phrase, "Keep showing up." These 3 words motivate her every day.
Keep showing up every single day, no matter what. If it feels like I'm trudging through hell or I'm born to do this, I'm just going to keep showing up.
Her campaign is raising awareness and continuing the conversation about mental health, which is exactly what Coordinator of Mental Health Advocacy at the Marquette University Counseling Center, Nicholas Jenkins, says is crucial to prevent suicide. Jenkins emphasizes that the Marquette University Counseling Center is a great resource for students who are struggling.
We are free. So you have to use insurance, you do not need anything else. We provide treatment for all full-time Marquette students. Even if you are part-time, give us a call, we'll help you get set up. Right now we're doing telebehavioral health because of COVID.
If you or anyone you know is struggling, reach out to the Counseling Center for help. You are never alone. I'm Madison Burrier, Marquette Wire News.
Class registration is now open for the spring 2021 semester. To check when to register, go to appointment times under Managed Classes and checkmark. Classes can be added to the cart before registration officially opens. Just like this semester, many classes are offered with a remote option for students who wish to be fully online. Classes aren't the only thing that have moved online. Students have the option of attending virtual Mass at the Chapel of the Holy Family or the Church of Jesu.
Even though things are different because of the pandemic, churchgoers are still determined to participate in Mass. Reporter Taylor Morant captures how things have changed.
For many Catholics, community is one of the most important parts of Mass. But that community looks a little different these days. Due to COVID-19, there has been many changes to how we interact with one another, and that includes Mass on campus.
There are things at Mass that we don't do anymore. There's no singing, you don't drink the wine, but it's been kind of a way to bring community together still.
Due to COVID limitations, the choir this year record their music instead.
They will record themselves on their cell phones and then send that in to me, and I put it all together. We did that today, so I'm using this cell phone and this speaker to play music at Mass.
You are required to check in before entering the chapel. Everyone wears a mask, including the priest. Seats are socially distanced. And the sign of peace has gone from hugs and well wishes to smiles from across the room.
Peace be with you. But so that has been very hard for students, but we mostly just do like the different like virtual signs of peace, I guess, or like from a distance. So you either do like just the peace signs or the slingshots.
Similar to Marquette's classes, Mass this year can be attended both virtually and in person.
As Catholics, it's really important that we attend Mass, especially on Sundays, and be able to be in the spirit, and whether it's in the chapel or here at Jesu.
Whether in person or not, the important part for many of these students is to just be involved. From the Chapel of the Holy Family, I'm Taylor Morant, Marquette Wire News.
Information Technology Services is reminding students to be suspicious of the emails in their inboxes. Last week, several email scams circulated through Marquette students' emails. The two messages read, "Rewarding an awesome offer in Marquette," and "Offer in Marquette." As a reminder, students across receive these type of messages, please be wary.
That rain yesterday was brutal. Charlie, can you tell us about the weather?
I can tell you about the weather. There was a lot of rain yesterday, but before we get to that, can we all just notice that winter has somehow showed up to arrive about 2 weeks late? Now, right now, it is roughly 43 degrees outside, humidity at 62%, classic winter, and precipitation at a crispy 0%, which is wildly different from what it was last night. And the winds are coming out of the west at around 5 miles per hour. It is very clear outside. It's great for stargazing if you guys go down to the lake. Moving on, tonight it is going to be around 35 degrees, humidity at 71%, precipitation chance at 10%, not even a lick of rain on the radar as we're about to see, and winds coming out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. So again, not as brutal as it was last week. Speaking of the radar, we can see here that there is nothing going on in any of the state of Wisconsin. If we were going to go down to Florida, we'd see there's a hurricane, but we have crystal clear skies. And that's going to make it a little bit chillier than it would be if it was cloudy. But besides the point, Superior, for our overnight lows, is going to be 24 degrees. In Minocqua, 26. Eau Claire, 25. Green Bay, 33, warming up. And in Milwaukee, 35 degrees, sticking with the trend that it is officially winter. Moving into tomorrow's highs, 32 up in Superior, 52 in Green Bay, and 56 in Milwaukee, 53 in Madison. So maybe it's still indecisive. It's hard to tell. Jury's still out. But moving on into what it looks like for tomorrow, it's going to be about 56 degrees outside, humidity at 56%, precipitation at around 10%. Doubt there's going to be any rain tomorrow. And the winds coming out of the south-southwest, around 10 miles per hour, nothing too crazy. Moving into our 5-day forecast, Friday, partly sunny, partly cloudy, 41 degrees for our high, 29 for our low. Sunday, same forecast, 48 degrees for our high and 33 for our low. And Tuesday, it's going to look pretty sunny at the moment, 44 degrees for our high and 34 degrees for our low. That's all for the weather train tonight. Stay tuned for more on election coverage with our analyst, Nancy Flaherty.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to Marquette Now. I'm Nancy Flaherty, your 2020 election analyst. We have a lot to unpack after last week's election. This election is significant for many reasons. Joe Biden will be the oldest president at the time of inauguration, and he's not the only one making history. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will be the first female vice president, as well as the first Black and South Asian American to serve in the position.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
Acknowledging his predicted win against President Trump. On Friday night, Biden addressed the nation in a speech, mentioning that while there is no official declaration, the numbers say that he will win.
Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow. Bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify. Who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
Biden goes on to say that one of his first goals once in office is getting the coronavirus pandemic under control.
On Monday, I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help take the Biden-Harris COVID plan and convert it into an action blueprint that will start on January the 20th, 2021.
The nation's so-called swing states are crucial for both campaigns. North Carolina and Georgia have not been called by AP yet, but President-elect Biden is declared the winner for 4 swing states, including Wisconsin. He also takes the lead in Georgia, but it's still pending. President Trump is the winner for 2 swing states, with North Carolina pending. Votes are still being counted in some of these states. Besides Kamala Harris being the first ever African-American woman and person of South Asian descent as the vice president, many other records are being broken during this historical election. This year, roughly 161 million votes have been counted. This number rises every day as ballots are still being counted in some states. This is a 66% turnout rate, which is the highest turnout rate since 1900. Biden has received more total votes than any presidential candidate in U.S. history, with more than 77 million votes. 101 million pre-election ballots have been cast, more than ever before. Congress is seeing some firsts, with Republican Madison Cawthorn as the youngest person to ever be elected to Congress at age 25. Richie Torres and Mondaire Jones, both from New York, are the first ever openly gay African-American men to be elected to Congress. And more women than ever have been elected to Congress, including Cynthia Lummis as the first elected female senator from Wyoming, Sarah McBride is the first out transgender person in Congress, and Stephanie Byers is the first out transgender person of color. Cori Bush is Missouri's first African-American congresswoman, and here's a part of her victory speech from November 3rd. That's everything from me. Stay tuned to hear from our Down to the Wire host, Ben Wells, talking with Beck Salgado on an important story the Marquette community should know.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure love.
Welcome back. I'm Randy Hosman.
And I'm Sam Marco. Live in the newsroom is executive news editor Ben Wells with Projects reporter Beck Salgado. Salgado has an investigative piece about students experiencing robbery and how MUPD has responded. Ben?
Thanks so much, guys. I'm here with Beck. Hi, Beck. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So, Beck, you wrote a story about MUPD's responses to certain crimes that have happened in the Marquette area, correct?
I did, yeah.
Yes, yes. So I have just a couple of questions about you. And one of those crimes that did happen in this area was someone by the name of Emily Smith. And she had her home broken into and she was tied up. And obviously, something like that has got to be absolutely horrifying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of all these stories besides Emily's, what was MUPD's reactions to these harrowing events that took place right in our own backyard?
Yeah, so what a lot of people were telling me when I was kind of working on the story is that two main things kind of came up. And the first thing was that when they came on the scene, they were really vigilant about getting information, getting contact information. Somebody even had their DNA taken because MUPD had taken fingerprints. And so they felt really good about the initial contact with MUPD. But then maybe 2 to 3 days out or a week out, they never heard from them again. And they would call and they would leave voicemails and they couldn't get in contact with their detective or any police officer, and that really frustrated them.
That's really interesting. And did you yourself reach out to MUPD while you were writing this story?
I did reach out to MUPD, and I emailed multiple people at MUPD, and then I even gave them a call, and they either just didn't email me back, or when I was able to get on the phone, they told me they were too busy.
That's really interesting. So not only was this negligence, really affecting victims of crimes, but also you as well, unfortunately. And when you were talking to these victims of crimes, what was in common in terms of their response to MUPD's lack of action?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I definitely want to say is that they weren't really mad about them not solving the crimes. I think they know that these crimes are really hard to solve. They don't get solved at a high rate, but I think they were more frustrated with the lack of communication, especially in these crimes where their safety is at stake. I mean, Emily Smith, her house was robbed twice in a week. The second time they were tied up. And so she wanted communication to know that she would be safe living in her own house, and she never got it, so she had to move out before her lease was up.
Interesting. And now some of our viewers have still yet to read the article, which you can read on Marquette Wire's website. Do you mind going over some of the stories that you uncovered just briefly for our viewers at home?
Yeah, so obviously the main one is Emily Smith and her roommate. They were robbed, like I said, twice in a 2-week span and tied up and kind of held hostage for a couple of hours while they were being robbed, and they had all their information taken and they were threatened the whole time. And then some other people, there was a particular street, I believe it was 22nd and Kilbourne, but it could be different. It's in the story. Where just a lot of car robberies and break-ins were happening. I mean, a lot of cars were being stolen on the street, and that was definitely a big thing as well.
Absolutely. That's very terrifying to know that that's happening on our campus. This project that you wrote is a part of a series that the Projects Desk is working on for MUPD. Where did this inspiration to sort of dive into MUPD's actions and everything that they're doing, where did this inspiration come from?
Yeah, so I think me and Lilo, we were talking about it over the summer, and just in response to everything that was going on this summer, in conjunction with people's perceptions on police, we kind of just wanted to look at our own community here at Marquette and dissect our perceptions of our own police force. And so that's kind of where it came from, and yeah.
Oh, can we expect anything more interesting in the future from the Projects Desk in terms of stuff coming from MUPD?
Yeah, we always will definitely keep our ears to the ground and then follow up to stories if they need follow-ups. But right now, we really don't know where we're going to take it, but we'll definitely, if follow-ups are needed, do them.
Right, and my very last question for you is, did you find anything personally frustrating with MUPD's response?
Most definitely. I think the biggest thing was they were blatantly lying in these briefs that they were sending to all the students on campus. I think Emily Smith said they told the cops they locked their door like 8 to 10 times. They told the cops, and still in the brief, which I was sent to me and is sent to all of us, it says the door was unlocked. And that's not the only situation when I've heard that. I've heard other people say the same thing happened to them, and so they're blatantly lying about the fact that doors are unlocked when they are locked.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Beck, for coming on the show. Back to you guys in the studio.
That's all for tonight. I'm Randy Hosman.
And I'm Sam Marco. Thanks for tuning in. Good night, Marquette.